Hey, it is Xennial Gamer, and today we're going to talk about how do you start a new game. Particularly a new game that's been around for a while, is really well developed, and has a ton of content because it can just be overwhelming at times. So we're looking at Raid Shadow Legends today. This is a sponsored video, by the way, but I've been playing Raid now for coming up on 2 weeks, really enjoying the incredible depth of content that is available. There are more things to do in Raid than just about any game that I've played in recent memory, which is awesome, but it can be really, really intimidating when you're first starting a game. So today's video is just basically a guide on how do you start? What do you prioritize? What are the first things that you should do, and what are the things that you shouldn't let get in your mental way and that you can wait and take care of later? By the way, this is a great time to mention that if you download Raid with the code in the description of the video or that's pinned in the comments, basically if you download Raid with my code, not only do you help support my channel, but you will get some free and really cool stuff that will help you out with this whole concept of how do you get started in the game. So the most important thing that you're going to get is 2 epic champions, one of which being Tagoar of the Orc faction. Now, again, this completely, you just get this. You just get this by using the code in the description. He is a really useful champion. So support champion, you can see he decreases the damage. This is on a passive, by the way, decreases the damage by any of your allies that are low on health. And then he's got a revive mechanic. In addition to the revive, he's also got some kind of, defensive buff. So he puts a shield on the allies to 20% of his own max HP, and he can do a defense buff on his ability 1. But maybe most important is that he has an AoE attack and a speed buff. So, he's buffing you on every single skill, plus he's decreasing damage. But the speed buff, when you start a game like this, you have 0 artifacts. You have just kind of like what the events give, because there's some really cool stuff. Like as you log in every day, they give you like 5 and 6 star artifacts, and as you do your early game missions, they give you a lot of really good artifacts. They give you some good stuff to get started, but even so, you're gonna be slow because it takes time. It takes time to get good artifacts. And so the speed buff is a good way to make up for the fact that you're slow, because as you're trying to advance dungeons and you're going to wind up starting to get outsped by some of the enemies in those dungeons, the speed buff is something that can really help out. And the other champion that you would get is going to be the Grizzled Jarl. He's an epic defense champion. He's got 3 skills, so no passive, but the 3rd skill is his key because it's got this AoE attack break. And when you're trying to advance in dungeons, and again, early game is all about that progression. It's about getting to the highest dungeon as quickly as you can so that you can get better gear drops so that you can progress more quickly. And in order to do that, we need to level up our champions, we need to 6-star and awaken our champions, and do all the stuff that's not RNG based. But anyway, Jarl has the potential to be very useful for some of that progression because of this AoE attack break. When you don't have the greatest artifacts, reducing the damage that you're taking is extremely helpful. Also notable that his second ability has the ability to block debuffs, and a lot of the enemies in the dungeons do have buffs, so this can be really useful. And then his first skill just hits surprisingly hard, especially for being a defense-based skill. Extremely useful. And once again, you only get Tagoar and Jarl by using my code. If you just download the game normally, you don't get them. As a matter of fact, I don't have them because I didn't get to use my own code, but you guys do. So code in the description of the video and pinned in the comment. Okay, so here's the deal. This is the Bastion. This is basically like your town center or where you start in Raid. This is your main menu. We'll say it like that. There's a lot of things in here that when you're looking at it for the first time may not make sense. Now you guys can see I'm level 30 right now. As I said, I've only been playing for about a week and a half. In most games like this, including Raid, as you level up, you open up more content. So right now I've opened up the majority of the content that I can access, but I still do have a lot more to access. As you're leveling the game at the start, there's always like a walkthrough. It shows you the first few things to do, and then you just kind of get thrown into the mix. Now, if we look at Raid, I'm just going to come over here to the battle menu. You can see I've actually still got the Doom Tower, the Cursed City, and Siege are not open to me yet. However, campaigns, dungeons, faction wars, arena, and then the clan boss all are. Now the clan boss is just a couple of attacks a day. That's something very easy to participate in. So we're going to focus, and arena, by the way, is very important. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. But we're going to focus right now on these first 3. your campaign, your dungeons, and your faction wars. Well, when I look at faction wars, you can see pretty much everything is locked. It works on a schedule where 2 factions open every day, and then you're able to attack within those factions. Now today we have the Undead Horde Crypt and the Lizardmen Crypt, and look what happens when I click into Lizardmen Crypt. I can only use 6 champions. Why? Because these are locked to the factions. So there are 16 factions in Raid, and as you go through each of these dungeons, you'll get various drops that are going to benefit a specific faction. But when you're starting the game, you have a fraction of the 800 plus champions in the game, and faction crypts, those are something that I feel like I need to advance a little bit further in the game before I dive into, because there are a limited amount of resources. You can see I'm pretty much out of gems right now. My energy is low, so I have to really allocate my resources correctly. So if we look at the champions I've got right now, and I got lucky, I got 2 legendary champions early, and then I got Loki through the event, which, by the way, there's an event going on right now. So Loki is a really, really strong legendary barbarian faction hero. And if you go into this menu, the Loki chase, you can see I said I've been playing for about a week and a half. All you have to do is log in 7 times before October 23rd, and you will get Loki. Once I pulled him, man, it really changed my dungeon teams. He was extremely helpful. Right now, there's an event that Raid is running, the Asgard Divide. So there's actually 4 champions that you can get on a limited time basis. In addition to Loki, you can get this champion right here, Odin, who might be definitely out of the Asgard Divide. This is my most wanted. His graphics are just absolutely insane. You can also get Freyja right here, and I mean, pretty much, I will say all the champions in Raid have absolutely just insane, like stunning graphics. Seriously, like this is a mobile game, guys. We're looking at this on a mobile game, but and then the last one that you can get from the limited time event is Thor. Those are going to come through normal in-game activities, but the Loki is free. And as I said, I talked about him in the last video, so I'll kind of leave it there, but I'll just say that make sure you log in 7 days before October 23rd. That's how you get him. You just have to log in 7 days, because he really did change my dungeon teams. And that's the perfect segue to what I was talking about earlier, which is the gear. So through these dungeons over here, Ice Golem's Peak, Spider's Den, Dragon Lair, and then also especially through the event dungeons, you are able to get your artifacts. So we see if we come into Ice Golem's Peak, we drop life, offense, defense, critical rate, resistance, retaliation, reflex, etc. And what are these? These are the sets. So for example, if you get a 2 set of offense, your champion gains 15% attack. If you get a 2 set of life, your champion gains 15% of HP. Now, early game, I feel like being picky about which sets I'm getting can be challenging, because you're going to be working with a very limited amount of resources and a very limited amount of artifacts. But I think that getting sets is extremely important. So, and then obviously trying to make sure that the sets that I put onto my champions make sense is also really important. Why is that? Because 15% of life, well, if I'm working with a bunch of crappy early game artifacts, that 15% means a whole lot more than if I'm working with late game artifacts. And at the start of the game, what we have to do is build our champions up as quickly as we can so that they're strong enough to progress into further dungeons. Like you can see right now, I've gotten through the first 7 dungeons. That seems like a lot until you realize there's 25 different dungeons, and that's just of Ice Golem's Peak. There's also 25 different dungeons of Dragon's Lair, and so on, of all of these different dungeons that are out here. So for right now, I am working on moving up in Golem's Peak, and I am working on getting my champions upgraded, all of them to maximum level, all of them to move up to 6 star, and all of them through their multiple awakenings. Now, the awakenings also actually are going to happen in these dungeons. You get the drops for your awakens from these keeps, like the Arcane Keep right here drops your arcane potions, and this is used for awakening. It's one of 2 ingredients, but it's the core ingredient that's going to be used in most awakenings. And then each of the other dungeons drops potions that are specific to your champion. Now, how do you balance things out? Well, the first thing is levels are free. They're not free, you have to grind them, but levels give you free stats because you don't have to get drops. There's no RNG in levels. So the first thing you want to do your summons with all the early game stuff that you're given for free. You can see I've eaten up every summon that I could. As I said, I got lucky. I got a couple of legendary heroes. Anyway, do your summons, get the champions that you're going to start with. And I'm talking a lot about dungeons because early game, that's what we're focused on. It's pretty much all dungeons with one big exception, and that is arena. So we come back into this battle screen, we come over here to the arena. There's actually 3 kinds of arena, by the way. There's classic, live, and tag team arena. You can see I have not opened up live or tag team arena yet. Classic arena, you're going to do battles against set defenses, and you can see some information about these defenses in advance. For example, right now the lowest ranked opponent that I can attack, his team power is 23,258. And if I come in here, we can see that mine is 40,000. So I have a decent power advantage, meaning I've got a pretty good chance to win. Whereas if I were to look at the next person on the list, 4183 versus 40, we're about equal. Now, power is not going to be everything. Obviously, I can still win this, regardless of the fact that I'm down 1,000 power. And I could probably still lose there. I probably can't lose this one, but I could definitely lose to someone with lower power. But first of all, it's a really cool kind of like basic guideline that you can see who you're attacking and how close you are to them in power when you're attacking them. But it just gives you a basic idea of what are the odds that you're going to win. But when you do your classic arena, and this is really important, you want to start your classic arena like right away in early game. I made that mistake. I didn't, and I'm a little behind now. But you're going to get these medals. Now, the medals that actually come are based on what your rank is in arena. So you start in bronze, and you get bronze medals, and you use those bronze medals to open up affinity bonuses. Now, these apply to all champions across the board. So that is a really powerful way to boost your champions without having to get amazing artifacts. So the goal as we're building up is basically we want to do the things that are less reliant upon RNG that we can fully control. So we want to level up our champions, we want to awaken our champions, we want to try and get our champions to 6-star, and we want to work on our affinity bonuses. Those 4 things right there, that's what you want to focus on as you're getting started in the game. And in order to know which champions to level up, you need to go through, read their kits, start to learn about them, and then test them a little bit in teams together. It's not even necessarily about, at this stage, it's not about trying to make the best or the fastest dungeon team. It's about trying to make a team that can consistently beat the dungeon. So pretty much what I'm doing at this point of the game right now is I'm focusing on campaigns, dungeons, and arena. Now, who should you 6-star first? Whoever is in your dungeon team. Who should you awaken first? Whoever is in your dungeon team. Who should you level first? You know the answer. It's basically our whole goal when we're starting a game like this. We want to simplify it and narrow down our scope and learn each part of the content as we go without trying to just take in everything at once. Now, the last thing that I want to mention is you see these things down here, missions, quests, and challenges, and then in the upper corner here you see tournaments. Also events. So probably these 5 things. These are super, super important in early game. Tournaments, by the way, I think this might be one of my favorite features in Raid. It's just really cool. I believe in this Ice Golem tournament, I did really well. Again, I am focused on Ice Golems. So I actually took first in this tournament. I got all of the rewards on the right-hand side. And then obviously I got the tournament rewards as well for taking first place. So I would say it is really important to try to do well in the tournaments because you get a lot of free stuff, and possibly just focus on one tournament that makes a lot of sense for you. So right now, if we were to take a look at the arena tournament, I'm actually pretty far down. I'm 44. I've only done 8. Well, it's actually, I've only won 8. I lost I lost a bunch of arena offenses. So I've only gotten 8 wins so far. So definitely make sure that you get everything you can from the tournaments, and then follow your quest lines. So you're gonna have daily, weekly, monthly quests, then you have your advanced and your like overall achievements, and make sure that you're following your mission lines as well. Every time you complete a mission, you get free stuff. The next mission I have here, unlocking a mastery for any champion, is gonna be 5,000 silver. And following along through the mission path, I mean, look at this right here. You just get like a free legendary support champion. I mean, Raid, actually, they're very generous. They make legendary support champions available, or well, legendary champions. They're not all supports, but they make a lot of champions available for, just doing stuff in the game. Also, they have some kind of cool stuff with the summoning that I've seen, like in the week I've been playing, I've already seen 3 different events. One of them is where you were able to actually choose like the 2 legendary champions that you wanted the most, and you put them in and you get like a 15 times greater chance to get them. And I actually summoned one of those, Lady Kimmy, which was at the start of my last video. She was in my boosted summon rate, and those special events seem to rotate a little bit. So that's it, guys. That is my recommendation. If you want to get started in Raid, there is so much to do in this game, and you don't want to get overwhelmed. You want to take it step by step. What I do want you guys to take away from this is make sure to take advantage of everything that you can get for free. So once again, that's a great segue to say, remember, click the link in the description below and make sure that you get your free Tagoar, your support champion that's going to give you that really important speed buff, and your grizzled Jarl that's going to give you really big damage, including off of his ability 1 right here, which just actually hits surprisingly hard. Especially for being a skill 1, no cooldown. And that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to see more content like this, if you want to see more diversity of games, let me know in the comments. Please remember to smash the like button as well. And as always, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you in the next one.